Derek, obviously manager of the month
Yeah.
for December. Must be chuffed with that, reflection of how well your team's been going.
Yeah, delighted with the month. Really, obviously we've had some tough fixtures. It's a big demand on every club. That I think 9 fixtures in almost 31, 32 days, leading into the first game in January. So I think the players have come through it brilliantly. We weren't perfect, but we picked up some big results. I always feel as though December, when the games come, is thick and fast, and that there's a lot going on in December. Family, Christmas, New Year. Is that having that real focus? We spoke about that with the team ahead of the scheduling, and just to really kind of be really professional, really focused on the job in hand. And I think the players have been terrific throughout that. We've asked a lot of them in that month ahead of the break, and we were delighted for the majority of what we got from them. So it was a big month for us, a big month for every team when the fixtures come like that, and we managed to come through it pretty well. So it's credit to the players. I've got brilliant staff here as well that allows everybody just to try and be at their best come a Saturday. I think it's impossible for any player when the scheduling's like that, when there's 9 games in 30 odd days, any player to be at their best. But what you do need to try and be is professional, focused, competitive. If you can get to your levels, brilliant in some games, and I think that's where we've been. We had some big performances, but it's impossible for them to be at their best. But what we can always be is competitive, hard to play against, really focused, and that was that part of it. And I think the staff deserve a lot of credit with that as well. I've got brilliant staff here with Paul, Archie and Craig Clark, really helped me at first team level to make sure the players are in good condition for each of those games. So it's a reflect. Any time there's any personal word like that, it's a reflection on every day at the club, to be honest.
You mentioned the demanding schedule and the injuries started to pile up as you got towards the break. Do you feel you're going to come out the break in better shape than that front?
I don't know if we're in better shape, but certainly with 2 significant injuries, Kyle McInnes, the relapse, it's a different muscle in the part of the hamstring, but it's still a significant injury. He's had an operation and he'll be out for the next wee while. And Brad Lyons has had an operation, the challenge here that he had to come off with against Dundee has now ruled him out for the best part of 10 weeks or so. So he's had an operation in the cartilage. So 2 boys who, particularly Kyle at the start of this campaign and Brad throughout, really have been really influential. So it's a real blow that we're missing both lads in the same area of the pitch. But we've got to try and deal with these injuries, and we've got Innes Cameron back at the top end of the pitch, back available. We've got Liam Donnelly back training this week as well. So we could do with just, as I say, having a good healthy couple of days going into Saturday's game, and then hopefully we can see how everybody's sitting before the window closes.
Sorry, Ronnie, what about the transfer situation? Anything bubbling? I know you were looking for a striker.
Still looking in forward areas. It's like I've been really pleased with what we've got from the lads here, but still looking to maybe try and bring in a different type of forward if we can. Obviously with injuries to midfielders, we might look to maybe address that depending on what happens between now and the end of the window. So we'll see how we go. Other than maybe a couple of younger ones going out on loan, not looking to lose anybody. There's been a few inquiries for some of my players to take them on loan, ones that have not been playing regularly. But I put a squad together in the summer, and I think the recruitment this summer we were pleased with. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we got the majority of what we wanted. I think the squad was nicely balanced. It was less numbers in terms of what we were last year, but I certainly think it was a good level of player, and the recruitment this summer has allowed us to be a bit less anxious about the January window. We'd still like to add. There's no manager. I don't think there'll be a manager saying wants to do nothing, but certainly the work that was done this summer allows us to be a wee bit more relaxed about this. Although my head of recruitment's probably would maybe kind of argue that I'm relaxed about it. I'm still chasing him and nipping his ear to see if we can come up with something that's. But I think in every transfer window I've ever been involved in as a manager, I've always been looking for a forward player, and everybody's the same. The whole league's looking for a striker. So January's notoriously a month where clubs normally hold on to good strikers. It's tough to get them. So unless you're paying top dollar and you can afford to go in and knock doors and make people think twice, it's such a difficult one.
Does football produce as many strikers as it used to?
No, it doesn't. And the whole premise, the whole academy. Listen, I could talk for this for ages. I'm not going to, because we're here to talk about the Dundee game. But when we growing up, my generation, everybody was 4-4-2. It was always twin strikers. There was an abundance of strikers. Everybody wanted to play centre forward. In the last 15-20 years, everybody's turned to 4-3-3, and a striker needs to be able to do so many things. And a lot of the time, one of the last things that they actually need to do is score goals. They actually need to run. They need to stretch. They need to press. They need to do this and that. And we're now operating a lot of times where now we play with a front two, not most of the time, but most academies over the last 15-20 years have been playing 4-3-3 or playing with one striker. So right away you're getting half the players playing at centre forward, and the role of the centre forward has changed. So to answer your question, there is a dearth of number 9s coming through. There's a dearth of number 9s available, and number 9s now aren't always good goal scorers, which is mad, so but there's a bigger answer to that question, but an answer simply is there's no.
Is it because of the demands on stats that you're not allowed to have a poacher just stands up and scores goals?
Yeah, I think there's always a place for someone who's a natural finisher, and it's up to teams at youth level and first team level to try and find ways to get these boys into the team. But we're all probably a bit critical of what players can't do rather than what players can do. I always feels that having natural finishers, people who've got instinct and that knack of being in the right place at the right time, they're sometimes, because of that, growing up, they maybe fail to be elite and brilliant at other stuff. But I think we're all in a position where we can trying to get that type of striker but still be effective and getting you up the pitch and getting a hold of the ball and be able, and a lot of players now as well, even we've even got this issue with 1 or 2 hours, the younger ones, where we've tried to commit to 2 strikers a lot of the time, so a lot of strikers aren't used to playing with another striker as well. They don't know how to work off each other. And when we were all growing up, it was 4-4-2, twin striker play, short and long. A lot of time it was big and a small one, a quick one and a physical one. And there was patterns and there was ways you can work. And then I think a lot of the time now, strikers don't know how to play with a partner. Thankfully, Vassell and Watkins know their way about a pitch and they've got an understanding. But I think at young youth level there is an emphasis for players, strikers, to play closer together and try and be more effective.
Pleased to get Gary Tyson signed up until the end of the season. What do you hope?
Aye, just no pleased. I'd rather he was a centre forward, but pleased we've got him. Gary's done well. The whole thing's probably worked out exactly how we kind of both hoped. It was initially just to find a home to train really after his injury at Hearts, getting him into the swing of things, getting him back into full-time training. I think he's missed 1 day through illness the whole time he's been with us, so his injury hasn't held him back any. We then give him a short-term deal. It was a bit unusual through December for the ones that were here. We tried to explain that it was just to help us with the schedule through December and try and get him involved in games, which he did do off the bench, and he's had a few moments now, and obviously the last home game here he has an impact in the 2 goals against Dundee, so we feel that he has done enough to warrant a longer contract at the end of the season, and Gary was happy to commit to that.
Obviously coming up against Tony again this weekend, how tough a test do you think it will be here?
I think the cup tie, I think the Scottish Cup, everybody's looking for a home tie, so we're grateful for that. The fact that we're the only Premier League fixture against each other, it would suggest even at this early stage how difficult a game it is for both teams. I think both of us would much rather have other opponents, but the cup, it's a cup. You've got to play good teams to get through the rounds. Normally you play the better teams as you go through the competition, and we're going to have to beat a good side early on if we want to progress. So it's it's both teams will see it as a real opportunity, but there's a lot of Premier League clubs with a lot easier ties than we've got.
No surprise for you, Dale, just in terms of how well Tony's done at Dundee?
Yeah, I've said this a lot. I think that they've inherited a championship winning team, a lot of things in the right place, good youngsters there, and I think he's been well supported. So normally when you get all that, particularly his first job, you know, he's inexperienced at that, but he's working for with a lot of good players, and when you get a support as a manager, regardless if it's your 10th job or your first job, you're just looking for that level of support for people above.
Twice you've played them so far this season, two draws, close to getting 6 points for those 2 games, apart from obviously conceding late goals.
Sorry
to bring it up. You're obviously need to be wary about it.
Aye. No, listen, it's you know, I think for 3 halves out of the 2 games we've been the better side. I thought Dundee were the better side first half here. I thought we looked a wee bit leggy after the game at St Mirren on the Wednesday night. Our changes helped us, and I thought the second half it was a really strong performance from us. And when you score in the 93rd, 94th minute, whatever it was when we scored, you automatically feel that's the game in the bag. But the people who can't think that way, the players, you've still got to see the job through. Dundee have scored a lot of goals to set play, so the one thing you can guarantee is in any game that the ball's coming in your box, whether it's throw-ins, crosses, open play or set plays. So you've got to withstand that. I think in open play we've been pretty comfortable against them. They do carry a threat at set plays with the size they've got, and both equalising goals were set plays, both corner kicks in the dying embers of the game. So that's nothing to do with the cup game. That's allowed us to drop 4 points in the league, which it's always tugs away at you that and nags away at you. But I think it's important that we try and focus on the good when we play Dundee, and just remember that we've got a job to see it through if we're in a similar position. But we're going to have to work hard to get ourselves in front against them. So I think it'll be a tight match. I think it'll be a competitive match. I think there's been a lot of good players in both teams. But it's a cup time. We want to do well in the cup, see the importance of the cup as well as having a strong league campaign.
Just in terms of the injury to the midfielders, maybe getting a replacement, and is that something that's going to be towards the end of the window when you see what you've got left or not?
Not necessarily. I think I've still got to try and prioritise the front player. So you know, it's not as if I can just say I can go and get a midfielder and then still have money over for a front player. So you know, we might miss out on 1 or 2 options, midfielders that are getting put to us, but I would rather try and get my kind of ducks in a row really. I don't want to miss out on what I set out to get. If money was no object, I'd just go and sign a midfielder now, but it's at the minute we've got to try and be a bit canny and just hopefully something comes up in the forward area.
Do you reassess or set new targets for this end of the season? Or stressful bit between now and the end of the season?
We've not reassessed. We had a meeting again today with the players about obviously the cup game's a priority now this week and the next few days, and we want to try and be a strong cup team. The intention is to get to Hampden, and we've shown that against the best teams in the country we can win games against them. So we're trying to, I think in the last 10, 11 years, I think 8 teams out with Old Firm have won a cup. So it's almost 50% of the time a team out with the Old Firm in the last 10, 11 years have won a trophy. Why can it not be us? And I'm trying to get that across to the players that we've got to attack the competition. A tough game first, so we're not getting ahead of ourselves, but if we can beat Dundee and get into the next round, then the intention is to try and go all the way. So that's the idea. In the league, when we pick up on that next week, is to try and really pick up where we left off with a strong month, but don't lose sight of there's work to be done to win enough games, and you know, try and get away from the teams below us and try and keep looking for ahead of ourselves.